Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. Yes, as usual, we're going to have a good show for you. Anyway, how are my peeps doing? I trust everybody's doing fine. You know, yesterday, I think after the show yesterday, I spent some time working on getting us able to play YouTubes directly from YouTube online. So if anybody has a YouTube link that they want me to test out, make sure it's something positive that doesn't have copyright, that won't get me a strike. I'm willing to try that and see if it works the way it should. So, you know, we are going to try new things here, of course, if it arises for us to do. Anyway, welcome aboard, Lee Grant from Montgomery County. How are you doing? Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Yvette Avery Herod. So it's your birthday. Well, you know, when a PDR posse has a birthday, I have to sing. I won't pull the guitar out because the guitar, I don't think is tuned, and I don't want to embarrass myself tuning it on air and not having all the strings work. So I'll just do it a cappella. Happy birthday to Yvette. Happy birthday to the one and only Yvette. Happy birthday, our beautiful Yvette. Happy birthday to you. All right, Yvette. Happy birthday, young lady. I know you look, what are you, 25 now? I think that's what it is, right? Okay, let's go. AVQ is in the house. How you doing, AVQ from Brooklyn, New York? Welcome aboard. Politics Done Right. Look, you know, we're all family here, so we want to make sure if it's your birthday, we have to do right by our peeps right here. Carl Cox just joined the show. He says space seat up the other day. Okay. Can't compete with projects Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, Soyuz, Skylab. NASA was great then. You know what? You nailed it. Hey, Yvette says 21 for life. I hear you, girlfriend. 21 for life. You got it. You have the right to say that. Absolutamente so. Eric Hayes is in the house from Kingwood, Atascocita. You know, I put the words Palestinian and Middle East in my title, and you know what happens, right? You get throttled. Anyway. But the first item that I want to do is I want to play a piece that I did this morning. I'm one of my monologue this morning because it really, after I saw the article on Kroger, I tied it into AI. I just wanted to let this out because we have to do something about our economic system, people. We have to be bold. We really have to be bold about it. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is in the house. Welcome, Melanie Keelan. And so this monologue that I did this morning, I think should sort of lay some groundwork to some of the thinking about our economic system. So I'm going to go ahead and play that one. E2247 is in the house. E2247, I have the second video that I have. It's another long one as well. I think you're going to like it. It's about an Israeli and a Palestinian talking peace, but we'll get to that second. And let's go ahead and do the Kroger video. And then we'll take it thereafter. We'll move on afterwards. Let's do that. I just want to use Kroger as the kicking person right now. For the amount of profit that they made, it's massive, but it's not as bad as what a lot of other companies have made based on their total sales, etc., to milk we the people. But hell, they're the poster child for now because they're trying to merge with Albertson. And as Jacob just said as well, the things that bother middle class America in its immediacy is grocery prices and gasoline prices, because those are the things we use every day. Those are the things for survival. So a post that triggered me on this issue was from Common Dreams, which is one of the progressive rags I read daily. It said, Kroger posts massive profits amid price gouging outcry and merger push. So here we have Kroger wanting to merge with Albertson, another big grocery chain, and they want to do that. Let's remember something, people. Whenever a company merges or whenever a company talks about shrinking or doing whatever it has to do for efficiency, they always on the outside tell people this is going to be better for you, the average middle class, poor person, the average American citizen. They always say this is for you. Before I even start this discussion, I want you to recall what Milton Friedman said, the god of capitalism. What he said is the executives of the company, the people who run the company, they should have no concerns over goodwill. They should have no concerns over employee. He didn't say specifically employee, but it was implied. They should have no concern over the environment or anything. The sole purpose of the executives of a corporation is to maximize the profits of the shareholders. One of the reasons I have an issue with capitalism, not free enterprise. In America, we like to conflate free enterprise, capitalism, and democracy. I want everybody listening to my voice to understand that the second largest capitalist country is China. They can try to picture it and put it any manner they wish. China is a capitalist country. There are stocks in their companies, etc. Now, when it comes to, we're talking about the American system right now. As Milton Friedman said, the only thing executives are to be concerned about is the valuation of their shareholders, maximizing profit for their shareholders. In other words, sucking as much money out of the economy and giving it to their shareholders. And for doing that, those executives get big bonuses. Remember, the shareholders do no work. The executives do no work. The employees do all the work, and they profit from the work of the employees by giving them wages. Sometimes if they to entice the employees, they may give the employees lower bonuses, etc. But remember, ultimately speaking, who is to benefit from any action done by a corporation? Now, to make corporations look kind of good, many of them will contribute to foundations, charitable foundations, etc., as long as those foundations make it known that these corporations gave to them, as long as these foundations make it known that, hey, we are kind of good, you know. We're not only in this for the shareholders. With that preface, go. Grocery giant Kroger's practice of price gouging in order to pass on its inflation to customers. Remember those high prices for eggs? Remember those high prices for milk? And all, we are screaming. And they are saying, supply chain problem. They're saying, we have additional costs. Some of that is true because the oil companies screwed all of us. They increased the price of oil for absolutely no reason. I had a discussion with a good friend. He was saying, well, you know, they didn't have a place to store the oil for a while, and then later on they cut. It's all junk coming from the oil companies. They simply ripped us off, period. Point sink banner. They ripped us off. And as they're ripping us off, the oil companies, as they're charging more oil to the farmers, as they're charging more oil to all these other entities, that price is passed on. Well, we got a memo from Kroger, an internal memo from Kroger. Yeah, those prices were a bit higher, but we took them even higher. We used the excuse of supply chain. We used the excuse of the oil prices being higher to even charge Americans a higher price than what it cost us. And thus, you were the pawns in the game. And now, Kroger, in order to even make more money after these extensive, massive profits for themselves, they now want to say, all right, we want to buy Albertson. What does that do? We buy Albertson, we create bigger stores, we have less employees to pay, right? And guess what that also means? As opposed to there being Albertson in one corner, Kroger in another, HEB in another, Walmart in another, we have taken one competitor out of the market. And because we take one competitor out of the market, a free enterprise system, guess what happens? No longer do they have that can of beans, no longer has to be $1.10. It can now be $1.30. But you can't do a damn thing about it because Albertson is not across the street anymore to compete on pricing to say, I want your business. So that is going to cause that price to go up because there's no competition. There are two things that cause prices to go up: scarcity and no competition. People like to add another thing. If you throw a lot of money into the economy. No, throwing a lot of money into the economy simply give the people with pricing power the ability to say, well, I know they got money, so I'm going to price. I'll do that other piece of capitalism called whatever the market will bear. What is it again? Whatever the market will bear, which says you don't get a chance to save. If you have money, I'll take it away from you, which is the same thing with reverse mortgages. And well, we'll go into that another time. So the idea here, people, is the following. The corporations keep you misled. With the help of the media, they keep you misled. They have you believe that somehow Biden has the fault. Biden policies somehow caused inflation. The policy that started inflation was when Donald Trump threw tariffs on to these products. And by the way, by putting tariffs onto these products, he screwed the farmers. And then some of the money that he got from the tariffs, he had to give back to the farmers with the expectation that they will still vote for him. In other words, the farmers get money not to do anything, welfare. What I'm trying to say, my dear brothers and sisters, is remember, in our capitalist system, every time you hear a corporation say that they're doing anything out of the sake of making things better for you, it is never the case. Corporations do not have your best interest at hand. The executive has his next bonus, what his next bonus is going to be. And the shareholder has, how much more can I get? How much more can I skim from your labor? How much more can I skim from your spending? Now, when you understand these concepts, you can start judging politicians for the things that they say they're going to do, right? You can start saying, well, politicians, are you going to have some sort of regulations that says if prices get to a certain point, what we will do is tax it right back out of the system when we see those massive profits, and then redistribute that right back to the people? Let me give a good example. The people's grocery budget was probably $3,000-$4,000 more over the last 4 years. And all that money didn't just disappear. That money went into the coffers of corporations who made massive profits. I don't know what the formula would be. I don't know, but we are the ones who afforded those profits. Those profits did not occur in a vacuum. Those profits didn't occur because these people did a day's labor of work. Those shareholders that are saying, well, we are risking our money, that's bunk, because you risked your life. When you work in that factory, when you were sitting as a secretary, when you're sitting down there, you are risking your life. Suppose somebody comes in there with a gun. Suppose you get carpal tunnel syndrome. Everybody is risking something. And the people that risk the least are the people that's risking the capital because it's not part of your body. It is so essential that we understand what our worth is. And we have taken what capitalism has done. It's taken your human worth away. It is always about how do we maximize for the few, not how do we maximize for the many. How do we maximize for the few? Right? Not based on work, not based on worth. When I talk about a billionaire being a parasite, I am not being hyperbolic. I am saying, by definition of what a parasite does, that's what billionaires do. They go into the flesh of the economy and they multiply that which takes away. Again, a billionaire, there's no person who has worked the amount of hours, the amount of labor, or have the actual intellect to be a billionaire. Bill Gates is a nice guy. Warren Buffett is a nice guy. These are not bad people. These are guys that are simply living within the system that was created at our inception. That doesn't mean that the system is a fair system. That doesn't mean that the system is a humane system. It isn't. The fact that we have so much money in this economy, and every day you go out there and watch people working hard and have to be stressing themselves out how to be paying a bill, even as they work hard. And Americans are very hard workers. Every single person listening to me, whether you are at work, used to be at work, or otherwise, you are the one who built this economy. Not Bill Gates, not Warren Buffett, not the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers all depended on the intellect and many of others. Should they make a lot of money because they had great organizational skills? Absolutely. But we should have not ever allowed as a society the accumulation of wealth that removed it from everybody else, because a piece of their action is that money not paid to you. When Kroger made all this money from selling groceries at inflated prices, that's your money. That's somebody saying we have a legal way in which to steal your money. Because we can. And until we change the paradigm under which we think. In other words, right now, the way we think is that is how the system works. That is fair. That is how it works. That system is man-made. We can always adjust a system so that it has more humane properties, so that mother will never have to worry about, even as she has a full-time job, what's the state of her kids, so that dad doesn't have to worry about his kids or killing himself or not being there for his kids. I started with Kroger and how those prices are not real. Those prices are there simply as legal theft for the shareholders and the executives. But things are going to go downhill a lot faster as we move on with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the composite knowledge, the collective knowledge of all of us. Yet, those people who currently control it, while it will allow for the layoffs of millions of Americans would be laid off because these machines now can use our collective knowledge to think, to produce, and a few billionaires are going to collect from our collective knowledge. But again, an economic system is man-made. I look at AI as a great thing. I use AI every day. When I'm researching my blogs, I write my blogs. The way, segue, I give my video pros. I do about 3, 4, 5 video proses every day. I then filter the transcript through AI. I then take that and I go ahead and I write my blog. Okay. It really helps me in finding all the corroborative resources for the things that I have. In other words, I read a lot. I have a lot of information. I can then and get that information corroborated. And I mean, it does help. It does the work. I can blog the amount of stuff a 5 or 6 person team has at a newspaper because of AI. But that is a collective knowledge of all of us, right? All of us. It's a collective knowledge of all of us. Now, for a few to profit from that is wrong. But here's what we could do as a society. As a society, we could say, well, since AI is creating this composite knowledge of all of us, what do we do? As a society, we reduce the work week from 40 hours to 20 hours at the same price. And you still make the same amount of money because now we have machines that can do the work for us. Not that instead we lay off the people and the money is not paying those people and the healthcare not paying those people and all of that now goes to the billionaire who gets even more billions. It's a different thought process. It's understanding where the knowledge comes from. It's understanding who does the work. And Americans have worked so hard that we have created AI together. Because what AI does is it takes the knowledge of everybody. It takes the knowledge of every single New York Times reporter, every single New York Post reporter, every single Washington Post reporter, every blog that was ever written in the world, every science paper that was ever written in the world. It puts that all together with machine power. And who invented the machines? The engineers from 100 years ago started the process. All of this collective knowledge is turned into AI. Everything that you've done, your actions, you go to work every day. You time clock yourself. You answer an email. You do all these things you do as a human being. AI absorbs that as well. This is how people in this part of Houston behaves. All of that is your work. And to have just a few people profit from that, it's not only wrong, it is again legal theft. And as a society, what we have to do is understand these processes. And in understanding these processes, we can elect people who acknowledge these processes and write laws so that free enterprise can reign. In other words, you can do as you please, but that the collective knowledge is paid for. And how is that paid for? No longer do you have a 20-hour work week. I mean, a 40-hour work week. We reduce the work week commensurate with where we have delegated other work to be done. So, folks, what I'm asking of all of you is not buy the crap you hear on TV every day about, not buy the crap about believing that billionaires have worth or there's something special about a billionaire that you don't have. Because like I've always said, I believe in my garbage man much more than I believe in a stockbroker. I have more faith in a janitor than I have in a stockbroker. And I'm not saying that to be cool. I mean that from the depths of my heart. I have more faith in my mechanic. The people that are actually making our society function, when COVID hit, we realized the value of people kind of quickly. We realized the value that people had. And the people that had the least value were those people that are the ones that are running the capitalist markets.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc.
Okay. Pushing buttons and stuff didn't work. Anyway, folks, I hope you got that. I hope you like that. Anybody wants to call in and I'll take this little 5-minute breather before I go to the other video. It's another 17-minute video. If anybody wants to call in and make a comment about that narrative that I just gave, just give us a call at 281-823-7747. We could have a 2-minute discussion. If anybody wants to comment on that particular narrative, it's 281-823-7747. And in our room, let me see what you guys have been writing. Let's see what I've got here. Michael Ruddin says, November is that far off? Oh, let me see. I need to go up a little further. Let's see. Sovereign reality. I saw in 3-county countryside of a deep blue northern state on west bank of Michigami where zero campaign regalia for any non-45 retread the felon candidate. By the way, let me just say that signs don't do much, okay? Signs can give a false impression that, you have a whole lot of support. The reality is groundwork, which is where they are investing their money. You're not going to go into a red county and put a lot of your signs, because what happens is you put a lot of signs in red counties and they just suck them up. What the Kamala Harris campaign is doing is they're going into these red counties, getting the small amount of Democrats and independents and thinking Republicans in those counties, get them riled up. In other words, let them see, look, we need you to come out. Even though we're not going to win this county, we want you to go vote. What they want to do is reduce the level at which because there are a ton of red counties, a lot of red counties, but they don't have a lot of people in it. But when you aggregate that, it adds up to a lot of people. And most of the red counties, the Democrats just say, well, there's no point in voting. What they're saying is, no, we want you, even if you're in a red losing county, vote, because that'll still bring your district in, that will still bring your state in. So that's why you see Kamala going around. So don't let all the signs fool you. They are not worried about signs. They're worried about going into the red counties and getting people in the red counties that are thinking people, Democrats, independents, thinking Republicans, to go out there and vote. Carl Cox says executives are leeches, mega rich are leeches. Yes, they are. Let's see. Michael says Eric thinks the people would be opposed to higher a higher corporate tax rate. Manzi's out of the loop. No, people do want a higher corporate tax rate because they don't want corporations paying less than they are. Corporations getting all the benefit. No, people are thinking people, but again, it depends on what you read, right? Let's see. Carl Cox, corporate America led by big oil, fueled inflation. Eric Hay doesn't understand economics. Most of these guys, they don't understand economics. They just parrot what's told to them. All right, let's see. Mike Cisak says there were massive increases in prices due to Biden policies. You could not tell me one Biden policy that increased tax prices. I can tell you a ton of corporate behaviors that increase prices, and I can give you a concrete Trump policy that increased prices. And let me just say, Trump tariffs increase prices. Okay, so that was a one-time inflation hit. People say, well, why didn't Biden take the tariffs off? He didn't for special reasons. I disagree with him. But him leaving the prices on didn't further increase inflation. So that portion of inflation has nothing to do with that Biden's policy. It's all Trump's policy. Now, the other inflation is called greedflation. And that was caused by, again, those excessive profits that you start to see when Wall Street says, hey, this company made a lot of money. But it goes worse. The other part of the profits was a supply chain. Inflation was a supply chain problem. And who caused the supply chain problem? Your corporate people that many of you on the right try to defend. They don't give a damn about you, but you still try to defend them. Michael Rodden says, E22, Judge Merchan had the chance to jail Trump over his business fraud, but chose to defer Trump's sentences until after the election, meaning that the people will decide whether Trump does to prison or the White House. That is true. And I think they're going to decide that he's going to prison because I don't think Trump wins this election. I still am. I know what you're watching on TV. I am still looking for a landslide for Harris, especially since what I see in Trump is somebody that's not only emasculating himself, but is completely unhinged. Trump seemed to be going crazy. I mean, he lives in an alternate state of reality. Did you hear his news conference today? It was fun. If you watch his news conference, they had a sidebar, and every statement that he made, it got fact checked. No, he didn't really have the biggest economy. His largest GDP rate was under 3%. I had the biggest GDP in history. Nope, actually, Biden's was bigger than yours. Biden had more this than yours. I mean, it's funny. They were in real time. They were fact checking him because everything that came out of his mouth was a lie. Everything that came out of his mouth was a lie. Lee Grant says Kamala wouldn't answer, "Are you better off today than 4 years ago?" And I wouldn't have answered it either. You know why? Because the answer is yes. But to explain that answer when people are spending on the aggregate about 15 to 20% more on pricing and groceries and other thing, it's hard to explain to them. Well, let's take Biden's policies out and leave Trump's policies in. First of all, when I took over, the economy was in the dumpster. So yes, you are better off today than you were in 2020. Absolutely so. No doubt. And I made it better for you by giving you your stimulus. I made it better for you by making sure that inflation created by Trump and the corporations came down. I made it better for you for all these other issues. But to explain all of that is not a two-word answer. So instead of giving an answer and then having everybody say, well, look at the price of eggs. Well, look, it's too complicated an answer for a debate where you get 2 minutes to speak. She did absolute the right thing. She asserted instead of defensive. She was assertive instead of defensive. And I love the way she did it. I love the way she did it. Breed says first offense, not murder. He would get maybe house arrest. Yeah, I think he would get house arrest. All right, let's see what else we got here before I move on to the other video. Michael Ren says, Egberto, it's why I keep bringing up universal dividends. A large portion of that wealth that is created by generative AI and automation should be given to the people. Absolutely. You get it, Rodnin. You got it. You got it. You got it. AI has robbed our brains. Let me tell you what the danger of AI as I see for the future. like I tell you, I use AI as well, but I don't use AI to tell my stories. I tell my stories and I use AI to go ahead and let me give an example. I when I come to work in the morning, I get up here, I read my articles, and I don't write an essay. I go ahead and I speak my essay into the camera because that's what we do here. That's just my form. And after I do that, I want to go ahead and start giving references because remember, look over the checks. I am rated as highly credible. My site is highly factual. When you fact check me, you know it's going to be right. I filter my prose through AI where I can also get information, right? And then I corroborate the information given to me by AI. In other words, if I put my transcript through AI and I say, okay, I want this list XYZ, I am then going to go to these sources, validate the sources that AI gave for what I told AI about. In other words, I created the prose. It's like me having an assistant, right? I do that work. But there are those who use AI by saying AI does the work. AI gives the ideas. AI does all of that. In fact, there are so many tools on the market right now where AI is the one doing the work, just like the executives are the ones that just give instructions and somebody else does the work. I don't believe in that. The problem is there are a lot of companies right now, especially media companies like mine, that is what they do. They just go ahead and what let me give an example. They will take my prose, they'll take my essay, put it through AI and say modify this essay to go ahead and be a completely different essay, taking my knowledge and creating another document and then posting that document with the entire knowledge base that I put out there. Okay, if you look at your newspaper, your local newspaper, you will see they'll put in somewhere hidden some of these stories generated by AI, but they are not printed or posted until it's reviewed by a human being. I think that is bunk. Why would you have a newspaper that is putting out stories based on AI, right? I mean, again, my brother Grant, that is the problem with AI as I see it right now. It's making a whole lot of people lazy, which means it's going to take away a lot of people's writing skills for the if we don't have a paradigm in which to use it. I created a paradigm for politics done right that ensures that what we get here at Politics Done Right is politics done right, not AI. But there are a lot of folks, a lot of stuff that a lot of you guys are reading. It's AI. And that is dangerous. That is completely dangerous. All right, let's see. Let's see what else we got here that comes up. Carl Cox says tax cuts to the mega rich. Corporations are passed on the bottom 99%. Yes, Michael Rhodes says corporations need to remain competitive. If there is an increase in corporate tax, they can't pass the difference on to the consumers as they lose out to mom and pop shops. The truth of the matter is, the truth is we want to enhance mom and pop shops, right? We don't want corporations to have that competitive advantage, right? We want them to be on even playing fields. Let's see what else we got here before I get to the next video. Egberto, will you run the Mideast oriented interview you promised? Right. Oh, okay. I'll do it right now. E2247 right now. But before I go, let me just read. Michael says, Egberto, generative AI isn't programmed for fact checking itself. You've heard of generative AI hallucinating entire stories. AI even says it lies when asked about such inconsistencies. This problem with generative AI is likely to be solved in the next few years, but those fixes aren't arriving anytime soon. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Here is the article, or rather, I did this interview with two great guys, one Palestinian, one Jewish. Let's go ahead and play that now, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today we are honored to have two special men, Mr. Maoz Inon and Aziz Abu Sarah. Okay, let me tell you guys something. You know what we talk about? We talk about the Israeli-Gaza issue. You know what I believe in? I believe that war is stupid. You know that I believe that there is no reason for cousins not to get along.
Yeah.
And you may see that as altruistic, but it's really reality that is stopped by, you know what I talk about, economic systems, but we won't go there. First of all, welcome Maoz and Aziz. Welcome to Politics Done Right.
Thank you.
First of all, how did a Jewish dude and a Palestinian dude in this world that tries to keep folks apart get together?
Tinder. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
No. But actually, you guys have your own mic. You don't have to look. You don't have to.
Oh, that's
You don't
true.
have to steal my mic
That's
from
true.
me. Okay,
That's true. So no, not Tinder. Not Tinder. Not
Okay,
Tinder.
good.
No, we both met first time 4 or 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We're not sure. Maoz works in tourism in hotels and hostels, and I work also in tourism, and our companies work together. And
Right.
And so that's how we first time met, but not really how we became friends. We became friends after October 7th when Maoz's parents were killed. And I sent him a message of condolences the next day and just told him that I stand with him. I believe in, just like you said, violence is never gonna bring freedom and never gonna bring security to anybody, and especially knowing that his parents were killed, I couldn't be silent, and so I sent him a message to say I care and I love him, and he responded, and that's how we started.
Am I understanding right that your family was a part of the disaster, the terrorist attack in?
Yeah.
First of all, let me give you my most sincere condolences. I'm sorry to hear that, and wow, I didn't know that. But anyhow, and how did you've been working with your Palestinian brother here for quite a while. How did it feel to you when he called you to give you, to let you know that he stood with you?
First, I would say I was broken.
Right.
Okay, I was broken. I lost I lost my parents, but I lost childhood friends, their parents, their children that were killed or kidnapped to Gaza. And when Aziz approached me, I knew how difficult it is for a Palestinian to recognize the suffering and the pain I was going through, how much bravery it means, and how much courage. You know, it's so difficult to pay condolences to anyone, even to your neighbor, to anyone. It's so difficult. Something you want to avoid.
Right.
It doesn't matter when you don't want to pay condolences. It's you do because you must do. And I knew Aziz was doing it not because he must do, because this is his personality. This is his belief. Those are his values. And I knew how difficult it is. So when I knew I have a partner for peace, I have a partner for reconciliation. So it's even if before that only our companies were partnering on some projects and initiatives, I decided this time I want directly to partner with Aziz, because I want to justify the death of my parents. I want them to be victims of peace, not victims of war. And then we have decided together to work and build, not just to work, to build and pave the path to peace and reconciliation. And this is what we've been doing in the last 9 months. And we are not alone. We are just a representative of the new Palestinian-Israeli peace movement that is gaining power, that is growing, that is becoming more and more relevant as the war is being waging, and as it's proven again and again that bomb not bringing silence and war is not bringing security. So we are here on a mission to make peace between the river and the sea.
I think this is so, first of all, magnanimous of you that you could go through that pain. And I tell you something, what I love here is that people are people. Humans are humans. There are a lot of externalities that actually creates the friction between people. Most of it out completely of our control, and it's just we who can determine that we are not going to allow those externalities to exist. And first of all, I think that your approach says so much about character. It says so much about character, especially how the world came down. Is that your upbringing? What is it?
Well, I understood what Maoz is going through because earlier, when I was 10 years old, my brother was killed as well in this conflict. And so I understood the pain of what he was going through. I understood what it means when somebody in your family is killed and you start looking for answers. And I understood how important it is to have allies, to have somebody with you, to have friends, to have people who believe that we are together. I think the world likes to divide us as Israelis versus Palestinians, and we refuse this division. If we are divided as those of us who believe in equality and dignity and peace and reconciliation, and those who don't believe in that. And so I wanted to send
Don't believe in that yet.
And don't believe in that
I like
yet.
that. Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. I forgot that part today.
Yeah.
And that is very important. We want to grow this alliance. And so, I reached out because I understand the pain, but I understand also the potential, and I understand the what we can create together. And, I didn't know if Maoz will respond or not.
Right.
And so I thought it's important to just send the message, and he did respond immediately. And so within a few days, we met, we started talking, and then we said, let's do some work together. Let's make sure people hear our message. There's so much justification for violence where people use our stories to justify killing more people.
Right.
I was like, let us make sure that no one can use our pain, no one can use our stories, no one can use our suffering to justify making somebody else go through that suffering. Let us make sure people understand we're not on opposite sides. We are together. We are in this together. We cry with each other, we laugh with each other, and we imagine the future together.
We've lived in a society that so depends on divisions, and it's not only the Israeli-Palestinian division, it's a division here in the United States that is occurring as well. And I think you present a template that needs to be seen. I could take this interview, this discussion in so many different places, the bombing in Gaza, the attacks in West Bank. I could do all of that. But I think that defeats the purpose of what needs to happen. Mm-hmm. My question to you is, how do you get, right now you have a right-wing government. Before I get to there is a town in Israel, and I can't remember the town, where distinctly Palestinians and Israeli decided to live together to show that it could be done. You probably
Oasis of Peace. Oasis of Peace.
Okay.
Yes.
And in the Oasis of Peace, this October 7th even created a conflict within the people, not an overt conflict, but a conflict of silence where people just didn't know how to react, and that you were able to create the dialogue is something that we need.
Right.
Now, how can you migrate this? Because it's something that has to happen to solve the problem. And when you have a right-wing government in one place and you have a group that is based, forgive me for saying this, I just have to say this to be honest with my audience. Anybody who commits these types of murders are terrorists, and we have to name it accordingly. Whoever starts it, ends it, whatever, we have to do that. And in the process of doing that, how do we get your message for the rest of the Jewish people, for the rest of the Palestinian people?
First, it's a global message. It's not just to our people, it's for the entire world.
Exactly.
Because now it's definitely for the Americans. Because the Americans are investing and sending Israel military aid.
Right.
And we are here to say you must change your policy.
Right.
To send us reconciliation aids. Instead of sending the region tools of destruction that are creating war.
Right.
Again and again and again. send us tools of peace and shared future.
Right.
And this is why it's so important for us to be here and speak at the Netroots Convention, because we need to change the policy. And I want to share the 3 lessons I learned. Briefly, the lessons I learned after October 7th, the lesson of hope,
yes,
the lesson of the future, and the lesson of forgiveness.
yes.
Hope is an action. Hope is not something we find, we lose, or someone else will give us. Hope is an action. And it's very simple to explain how to create hope. We do it together. This is what we're doing with you. Here
Absolutely,
we create hope together
Right.
by envisioning a better future and by acting to make this future into a reality. So it's very important to create hope. And this is what Netroots Annual Convention is doing. So this is why we are so happy to be here. And there are so many organizations, Palestinian, Israeli, shared organizations that are creating hope nowadays. Support us. Support Combatants for Peace. Support Standing Together. Support Women Wage Peace. Support Women of the Sun. Support those who create hope. It's such a devastating and horrible time. The second lesson is the lesson of the future. Even though our people's story is today as far from each other as ever, like the last airstrike in Gaza from last night.
Yes.
Our story is the gap is wide as ever.
Right.
But there is a miracle. There is a miracle. Our people meet in the future. We meet in the future that is based on equality and dignity, shared recognition and acknowledgement, reconciliation and healing, security and safety. And this is what we are modeling in our relationship, in our partnership. We are modeling those values and showing others that they can choose our side. They can choose the side of the future. And the most difficult lesson is the lesson of forgiveness. And I learned it from another Palestinian friend, Hamza Awaude, that said, we must forgive for the past, we must forgive for the present, but we cannot and should not forgive for the future.
I love that.
So I've decided to forgive.
I love
and
that.
I'm a free person. See, I forgive Hamas, I forgive the Israeli government that betrayed and was accountable for not securing my parents.
Right.
I forgive them. I don't care about them. I'm now just focusing in the future. And this is also a lesson we need to do together. We need to envision and build and imagine a new future and to give alternative for the extremists, for those who polarize and strive on our division, on division in us. Let's build a movement of the future and let's make this future into a reality.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something, Aziz. Both of you, folks like you and the other organizations doing your work, need to be elevated. The reality is I should be seeing your info not on a 2-minute clip on the major networks. This should be something that is seen big all over the world. This is something that we should have hours of on the television, especially in these times. But one of the things we should understand is that our economic system depends on conflict throughout because of the industries that we have. And I'm not going to go off on a tangent here at all. But the reason I'm bringing that up is understand that there are external forces that depend on brother fighting brother, cousin fighting cousin, etc. So Aziz, before we close out here, your thoughts.
Yeah, I fully agree. When we met Pope Francis recently,
yes,
he told us peace happens based on what you saw. If you invest, if you saw in peace, you will get peace back.
Right.
If you invest into war, you get war back. And that's why our message to people is, one, amplify our voices. If mainstream media doesn't want to put us again and again and people like us on TV, then
we will. No,
people do. Yes.
We will. I mean, and
exactly.
I don't know if you can see in my face how inspired I am from both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, I am so very much inspired because this is the kind of stuff personally that in the work that I do with the coffee party in the past and with Move to Amend and others, this is the kind of things that we've been striving for. But in the particular Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it takes you all showing in person like you guys are doing right now,
you know,
that this is possible, that this hatred isn't intrinsic This hatred is externalities pushing people to disregards.
You know, in America, whenever there's a mass shooting, so many people get on Twitter or on social media and they say, our prayers and thoughts with the victims. We don't want people pity. We don't want people prayers and thoughts.
Right.
We want you to be part of our movement. We want everyone watching here. We want everyone we meet. You're not just an ally.
Right.
You're not just a supporter.
I'm a
you
doer.
are a partner.
Right.
We're
You
a partner.
You
absolutely.
are
Partner.
with us doing this together. And the more people join us, the bigger this movement gets. We together work into changing the policies in the US, the policies in Israel, the policies in Palestine, the policies in Europe. And we together change not only even our conflict, Israel and Palestine, the other issues around us. We need to work together, not against each other. And that's a message that two of us are bringing. Don't divide us. We're not against each other. We are together for a future that's better. The Bible says where there is no vision, people perish. We are bringing a vision. Our existence together. The facts we showing up where people expect us to hate each other. And we're saying, we brothers, we truly care about each other. That's an antidote to extremism. That's an antidote to people who believe the language of war is the only language that we can listen to. We say, no, we are here to speak against this reality, and we will surprise this reality until it changes. That's the hope we are creating. And it's not a sentiment. It's like Maoz said, it's an action. Every moment of every day, we are working to make this reality become true. This dream of reality become true. Because it's not just a dream, we every day working and making it happen.
Man, I love you, brothers.
Yes,
I
love you
love you,
too.
brothers. Mr. Maoz.
Yes.
Let me
Inon.
say it right. Inon.
Yes.
And Aziz Abu Salah.
Yes.
Thank you so kindly
Thank
for
you.
being here on Politics
you.
Done Right. And I'm going to try like hell to put this out to let people know what the possibilities
Yes,
are.
that-
You
Thank you.
guys are heroes.
Thank you.
I mean,
Wow.
you are heroes, okay?
Thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you so kindly, guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I love those guys, man. I simply love those guys. I mean, I don't, let me tell you, while I was interviewing those guys, the spirit, I don't even know if the word is spirit that you felt in that conversation, just the aura that you felt in that conversation. It wasn't something that made you want to cry. It just was something that made you feel, my God, these are people we see Israel and Gaza on TV every day, and the bombs flying and the dehumanization and all that stuff, right? And then you meet these two guys, one Palestinian, one Jewish. And I don't know if you saw it in my face, but when earlier on, Maoz tells Zira, I love you, man. And then he tells the Palestinian guy, Aziz, tells him, I love you, man. It was like magic. It was like magic. And it says that if you give those people in Gaza, those people in Israel, the permission to love each other, right? The permission not to have an eye for an eye, a tooth for tooth, not to have just that, right? It would be there. Now, I want to address my brother here, E2247. Yeah, we are complicit in sending bombs, etc. But just talking about the complicity we have in the bombs, when that is United States policy. The United States policy is a one-sided support for a right-wing style Israel, right? And Israel that believes in creating settlements to break up what's left of the West Bank and to extricate, right? What we have to do is we have to change. We can't expect Kamala or Joe to just come out one day and say, I'm no longer sending bombs, when you have a military industrial complex with a whole lot of money to just simply go ahead and say, well, if you don't send bombs, we are going to find a way to get you out of here, maybe put Trump in there or do what. I mean, we have to be just as coy and sensible as the warmongers. And that doesn't happen by saying we're just going to tell Israel we're not going to give you any bombs anymore. It's something that we have to create a sensible policy, a humane policy, and it has to work. Anyway, let me read what Bridge MCP says. First, Michael. Michael says, that's a great interview, Egberto. I hope it shifts the typical Israeli response. A recent Pew Research poll showed that only 4% of Israelis say the IDF military response has gone too far. Yeah, I know. I know that. And that is, again, that's why in speaking to our brother here, we have to say the change has to be organic. And I mean, because again, a lot of the Israelis are still suffering from the same kind of misinformation the right wing gives here in the United States. It's the same type of misinformation that they hear as well. Let me put that on the screen for you. Okay, Bri says Trump Tower ruled a public nuisance after thousands of fish die. Chicago's Trump Tower opened in 2009 and pulls 20 million gallons a day from the Chicago River to cool the building. A federal judge has ruled that Trump Tower in Chicago is a public nuisance. Yeah, imagine it warms the water and changes the environment for the fish. General Kwame Raoul, an environment activist, asked the Cook County Circuit Court to rule on their case against a Trump International Hotel and Tower in downtown Chicago, arguing its operators have failed to comply with the environmental laws. Now a judge has ruled the Trump Tower is a public nuisance and its cooling water intake has killed thousands of fish from Chicago River. The Chicago Sun-Times. The tower sits on 401 North Wabash Avenue, and it has been operating without proper state water permit and does accurately report water discharge levels according to the lawsuit. Its intake should pulls 20 million gallons of water daily from Chicago River to cool the building. Groups allege the building has illegally sucked and killed thousands of fish. It's not only going to be that; it's also going to be likely the change in temperature as it cools the building. They probably shouldn't be pulling 20 million gallons. They probably need to pull 60, 80 million gallons so that the delta temperature is within the range that the fish live in. Of course, I don't know any of that. That just come off the top of my head. Oh, it's 4:01 and I got to get out of here. But before I go, want to ask all of you to please support the program. And how can you support the program? You can support the program by, one, going to politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. That gives you all the different options to support the program. But what I'm asking of you is to all become paid subscribers of our newsletter. That gives us a consistent flow to help us pay all the bills that we have to support this endeavor. So please go ahead and consider becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All right, guys. This week we are going to have, I don't think I advertised it good enough, but this week we'll have Ask Egberto Anything. Ask Egberto Anything. You can get there by going to the link, politicsdoneright.com/Ask Egberto. Go ahead and sign up for it and log in Saturday tomorrow at 11 Central. That will be 12 noon. And I guess it's 9 o'clock Pacific, but we didn't have it because it was my anniversary last week. This week we're going to have it, and forgive me for not having told you earlier in the program. Please let all our regular folks know. Again, we're going to have Ask Egberto Anything, our Zoom call. Sign up at politicsdoneright.com/Ask Egberto, and we'll take it from there. Anyway, guys, got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? What am I? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.